Hi guys, welcome back for day 3 of right triangle trig notes. So what we did on Tuesday is we identified the 6 trig functions: sine, cosine, and tangent, which is what is review, and then also secant, cosecant, and cotangent. So let's quickly review that. Let's scroll up to the top here of our notes. And right here we see that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant is hypotenuse over adjacent. Cotangent is opposite over adjacent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so cotangent is adjacent over opposite. Okay, they work with each other. What we did on day 1 is we just identified sine, cosine, and tangent, just like we always have by using Sohcahtoa, and then flip those fractions to find cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Then yesterday in our notes, what we did is we started finding the missing side of a right triangle when you can no longer use Pythagorean theorem. Because if you're given a right triangle and you're given 2 sides, you always want to use Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. It's easy, it's quick. You can also do it in your head, you're good to go. But to find a side when you're given an angle and a side, you have to use Sohcahtoa. Okay? So what we did is we labeled our sides of the triangle, figured out if it was sine, cosine, or tangent, and then plugged it in. This example here, example 3, we did this when you were finding the side length that was on the numerator of the fraction, as is the case right here when x was on top. And then the next example we did down here is when we had x on the bottom. So we found out how to find the sides of a right triangle when you're not given 2 sides by having the variable on the numerator and the denominator. So what we're going to do today is we are going to find the measurement of an angle, okay? And we talked about yesterday how when you're finding the side length of something, I want you to round your answer to the nearest tenth, so one number after the decimal point. But when you're finding angle measurement, what I want you guys to do, unless the directions say otherwise, which I'm crossing off right now, I want you to round your angle measurement to the nearest whole number, okay? So angle measurement to the nearest whole, side length to the nearest tenth. So let's get started right here on this problem. So I'm given a right triangle, okay? And they say find the measure of each angle. Well, before we get started on this, let me just quickly review something that you learned in geometry. So I'm given a right triangle, and this is C, this is B, and this is A, okay? So mathematically, what you're going to see is angle measurements are going to be capital letters. Again, angle measurements are going to be capital letters. Side lengths are going to be lowercase letters. And the side lengths correspond to the angle. So if this is angle C, straight across from it is going to be side C, okay? So right across from it. If this is angle A, right across from it is going to be side A. And then if this is angle B, right across from it is going to be side B. So that's really important to know and kind of start thinking about what are the side lengths called, what are the angle measurements called, because when we get into law of sines and law of cosines, we're going to assume that you know that. So I would definitely write down this right here and kind of use it to reference, okay? So let's go back to number 1. Sorry for the sidetrack. So it says find the measurement of each angle indicated. So we are going to find the measurement of angle A, okay? That is also my given angle. So I want to find the measurement of angle A. And that M in front just means measurement of. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to find my A, H, and O. So right across from the right angle is H. Okay, always draw an angle there. So that's going to be my H. My given angle is angle A, and next to my given angle is my A. And then on the opposite side of my given angle is my opposite, okay? So when I'm looking at that, I also remember Sohcahtoa. We talked about this yesterday, that it's important to kind of write it down as much as possible so you have it memorized. So let's look at this triangle. So I have O that I know, and I have A that I know, and I know nothing about H. Okay, so I know O. I know O, I know A, I know nothing about H. So I also, you can kind of cross that off if you want to. So What trig function goes with O and H? Well, I'm going to go over and look, and oh, it's TOA. It's tangent. So it is tangent is what I am looking for. So I'm going to use tangent then to solve this problem. So what does that look like? Well, I have the tangent of my given angle, which I don't know yet. You can put that symbol there, or you can also put an X there. Doesn't matter whatsoever. You're finding the measurement. Equals opposite over adjacent. Okay? But because we're trying to get angle measurement, we have to get rid of the tangent. So how do I get rid of the tangent? Well, some people are going to divide by tangent. That's not right. So we actually do the inverse. So the inverse of tangent is tangent inverse. So what I'm really going to do, and you don't have to show this step, but this is kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to multiply both sides by the tan inverse. Okay? Again, most people will skip this step, which is perfectly fine, but this is what you're doing mathematically. The tan and the tangent cancel. So I get x equals the tan inverse of 11 over 12. And then I go to my calculator on trig, and your calculator should have the tan inverse. Inverse is at -1. We've talked about that before when we're finding inverse of the function. So I just go tan inverse of 11 divided by 12, and I end up with 42.5. So I end up with x equals 42.5, but unless it says differently, I'm going to round to the nearest whole. So I'm going to say it's 43 degrees. Okay? So my angle A, so the measurement of angle A, equals 43 degrees. Okay? Let's just say for fun, I also wanted to find the measurement of angle B. So let's say, you know what, now let me keep going. Because on some of your problems on your homework, it's going to ask for you to solve all of them. Well, if I already know the measurement of angle C is 90, and I found that the measurement of angle A is 43, well, we know from geometry class that when you add up all the angles of a triangle, it equals 180. So to find the measurement of angle B, I would do 180 minus 90 minus 43. Because a triangle has to be 180. So if I do that on my calculator, 180 minus 90, of course, is 90, minus 43 gives me 47. So the measurement of angle B would be 47 degrees. So once you find two angles, just subtract those from 180 to find the third angle. Okay? And then on here, let's say I wanted to find the hypotenuse. Well, I already know my two sides. So how I could find the hypotenuse would be 11 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. Okay? That's using Pythagorean theorem then to find my c squared. And if I did that really quickly on my calculator, I end up with 16.3. So C would be approximately 16.3. So side C, so I would do that as, let's say, side A, we know is 12. Nope, that would be side B. Sorry, let me go back. Okay, side B would be 12 because it's diagonal from the angle. Side A would be 11. And then by using Pythagorean theorem, side C is approximately 16.3, which makes sense because the C is the hypotenuse and it has to be the longest side. So right now I've solved the triangle. I have found all the angles and all the sides. Okay? So let's do one more together. Let's do number 3. And again, on your homework, there's going to be some that says solve for the missing side, solve for the missing angle, or solve the triangle. Again, when it says to solve the triangle, I want every side and every angle. So let's look at 3 right here. Right away, I'm going to write Sohcahtoa at the top because I want to have that memorized. Again, we're only using those 3 trig functions today. So I have my given angles right here. So based on that, this is my hypotenuse. It is across from the right angle, right? Always make that mark. This would be my adjacent, and this would be my opposite. So up there, here, would be my opposite, okay? I'm going to write this triangle off to the side just so you see what's corresponding. So let's say, or I can flip it, it doesn't matter. So let's say I just flip it. So I have this triangle here, same thing what we just been doing. If this was B, and this is C, and this is A, those are our angle measurements. So this would be little c, little b, and little a, okay? So if I'm trying to solve this triangle, I want the measurement of angle A, the measurement of angle B, measurement of angle C, and I also want to know what side A equals, side B equals, and side C equals. So we're going to solve this triangle. So right away I'm going to plug in what I know, okay? So they gave me that side C, our angle C is 90. Oop, I do not like that yellow. Let's go back, okay. So angle C is 90 degrees. Why? Because they told me. I know that side A is 5.1, and I know that side C is 12. So I'm going to solve for all the angles and all the sides of this triangle. So I know my hypotenuse, and I know my opposite, and I know nothing about my adjacent. So I go to the top and say, what trig function has to do with opposite and hypotenuse? So opposite and hypotenuse would be sine. So what I'm going to do is figure out what that is. So I'm going to do sine of x equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Again, to get rid of the sine, I'm going to multiply everything by the sine inverse. Okay. These are going to cancel, so they're always, 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 always going to cancel. So I get x equals the sine inverse of 5.1 over 12. And again, we're finding angle measurement here. So when I type that in on my calculator, I do the sine inverse of 5.1 divided by 12, I end up with 25.15. So x is approximately 25 because I'm going to round my angle measurement to the nearest whole. So I found angle A there, so angle A is going to be 25 degrees. So how do I find angle B? Because remember, I'm solving for this whole triangle. I'm going to do 180 minus 25 minus 90 gives me B. Well, again, we know that 180 minus 90 is 90, minus 25 is 65. So the measurement of angle B is 65 degrees. Okay. Then I'm going to find side B. So how do I find side B? Well, I already know two sides of the triangle, so I'm going to plug that in Pythagorean theorem. So I get 5.1 squared plus, I can do b squared or x squared, doesn't matter, equals 12 squared. So when I do that, I know that 12 squared is 144, and 5.1 squared is 26.01. So I do 144 minus 26.01, and I end up with 117.99. So 117.99. Square root both sides. So when I square root it, I know that I'm going to be rounding this number. So I get 18.86, or 10.86. So B's approximately 10.9. Because we round side length to the nearest tenth. And we know that number has to be less than 12 because 12 is my hypotenuse. So when I would say to solve this triangle, this would be my answer. Okay? So far this week we've identified the 6 trig functions, we've solved for a side length, we've solved for an angle, and we've solved for the entire triangle. If you have any questions, make sure you get on Zoom. I look forward to seeing you, and this assignment is due Sunday by midnight. Have a great day, guys.